intro ever, best guest ever. Mario is in the house. Palermo Pod episode 2. I know we do this every fortnight or so, but a couple of busy things have happened recently on my side of the world, but more importantly, on this gentleman's side of the world. Goody, congratulations, man. Lock up all the women in the world because they no longer stand a chance. Mario Gagliano is married, baby. Congratulations, my boy.
It's a miracle. I thought it never happened. Who would do
Me
this
either.
themselves?
I can't believe there's someone besides myself and Christian Rivas that can listen to you talk for more than 5 minutes. So big up to your missus. Yeah, she's gorgeous. You're gorgeous, and we wish you nothing but the best, my bro.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk a little bit about Palermo, starting straight away. Short podcast, short way to do it, short and sweet, obviously. Shout out to Sicilian football and our friend Anthony for running his brand as well. If you haven't, make sure you check them out for not only news about Palermo and the bigger Sicilian sides, you are going to hear things from teams you had no idea had money to even put together a football team or a park. That's not to say that the facilities are great down south, but head over to Sicilian football for all of your news on all of our southern beloved sides in the boot part. Let's do it. Bad results, 1 win, 3 losses in the last 4. We're not really focusing on the results individually because neither Mario or myself or anybody else expects Palermo to run away with a Serie B title or to, qualify for Serie A. It'd be nice if we could flirt with those promotional positions, but as I look at the ladder, Mario, and as I look at it, I think there are too many sides in Serie B this season, which people were already talking about towards the end of Serie A last season. Like, watch out for Serie B next season. Everyone look at Serie B next season. Like, I don't think I've seen Serie B this competitive since I was really following it. And back in like when Palermo were getting promoted and whatnot, there's just too many sides here at the moment. I'm still very confident we'll put together results this season to get up the ladder. But as of now, we might just have to dogfight it up. And you know what Corini said in his interview, this is a year zero. This is a year zero, and we know what our goals are. How you feeling, man, at the moment? We're 6 games in, 14th on the ladder, 2 wins, 1 draw, 3 losses, but losses against teams that have had more experience in this level of Serie B than us.
It's not the worst. I want to say I'm a little bit disappointed. In looking at the grand scheme of things, it's like we're tied for 14th place on 7 points. But if you think about it, we're 3 points out of 6th place, 4 points out of 5th place, and 5 points out of 4th place. So it's really not that bad. And to kind of backtrack a little bit, the results have been bad. I mean, beating Genoa 1-0 is actually a really good result. They're still
pumped, man. I woke up and watched that. I was pumped, yeah.
That's a strong win in Serie B, especially. Aquile is a team that's always up and down. Whatever. Regina, embarrassing.
Just keep in mind, Regina and Frosinone are 2 of the stronger squads. Yeah. Like Regina have been putting their head in the we belong back in Serie A bracket for about 3 years now. I always hear my Calabrese friends talking about it. I'm just like, is it going to happen or are we going to keep talking about it? And this season, I think they're gunning for it head and shoulders.
The past couple of years, also, Serie B has been really competitive. I don't know if you follow it. I was following it loosely just because I was like, let me look at the top goal scorers. Let's see who's like the next coming thing. So the last couple of years between 1st and like 10th place, generally it's been about where it is now, where it's like 7-8 points are like the top to the middle. It's like anyone could beat anyone sort of thing, but it's generally close. Like, yeah, you see a lot of losses when you look at that, wins, draws, ties, but across the board, it's a more or less an even playing field for the top half for now, and it's going to continue like that, I think, because a lot of these teams are just financially unstable. Obviously, they don't have the type of players to just keep going at that super high fitness. Once injuries start coming into play mid-season, end of the season, teams are going to fall off. It's going to happen to everybody. You're not going to have Regina going 37-1 over here and not drop a point. So
these clubs, man, like building a project is a foreign concept to these clubs. You can't look 5 years into the future if you're a Serie B side. Like it's vibes and that every single season. And if you can get over the humps, like you were saying, like injury humps, you get a few games together. Like in my opinion, bro, in these lower divisions, you're always half a bad season away from full-blown capitulation, man. 6 months can ruin you as a club.
If you lose and people stop coming to the game, the players, they go crazy, whatever the case is, because it's borderline amateur at this point. They're not
Yeah.
making enough money to give a shit, and they're one injury away from just saying, "Fuck it, I'm 30 years old, I don't want to play," sort of thing.
I don't want to play here. That's for sure.
I don't want to play. I want to be with my family. I can get paid locally, double
I
if I
can go to a country overseas and get five
correct.
times more than I'm getting here, even if no one's heard of the league before. I don't care at this
Yeah.
point. It's only
I'll
Serie B
I'll bring
anyway.
it to New York. I'll get you $400-500 a game. You'll be living like a king. You'll get a job. You'll get passport, visa, everything. We'll take
Yeah,
care of you, sort of thing. So it's like,
yeah,
I don't know how much dedication there is at a certain point. Like obviously, in the grand scheme of things, it's Serie B, second tier. It's still a big deal, but you know, you're
yeah.
lucky to get paid by half of these teams.
I get it.
Like if Palermo just were to just go down back and spiral down to Serie C, they're gonna lose a lot of money. Who knows? Maybe Man City pulls the plug for all we know.
And
Who
clubs
knows?
with a lot of history, like Regina, like Brescia, like Palermo, they do a great job of painting over the problems and
Yeah.
painting over the cracks, and they keep the vibes going in seasons like this. Like, let's face it, we're in a very exciting season for
hmm
Palermo. They're back in Serie B. The vibes are high. I don't know if you've seen the club's website. It looks pristine, man.
hmm
Everyone is back on the train. So, one thing that Palermo just needs to not do is get relegated this season,
Yeah.
and I think that we'll be okay with that, man.
You can't think long term because you're battling for on a week to week basis. There is no, we're gonna set this team up, we're gonna bring a young core. That young core is either gonna not re-sign with you if you don't do well, if you don't pay them enough. And if they do well, they're gonna leave and go to a better team if you're not, leaving Serie B or if you're going down to Serie C. So,
Yeah,
a lot of these things come into play. Man City, if they find you're good enough for, I don't know, they want to put you in Melbourne, they'll send you in
yeah.
Melbourne. Girona, NYCFC, they'll shift you around if they think, oh, you're being wasted in Palermo of all places.
100%. We'll get to something similar to that soon. These are our next games coming up. 10 p.m. tomorrow night for me on a Saturday, which is right juicy time, especially when Premier League's coming back. There's Serie A on the Saturday night as well. Like, I'm looking forward to this fixture breaking up the top leagues. We come up against Sudirol. They're coming back as well. So two Serie C sides going head to head. It's going to be a good one this weekend. I think everybody expects 3 points just to level out the playing field before some bigger games against Ternana, Pisa, and Cittadella as well. So I'm pretty confident. Tomorrow night, man, we're looking for 3 points, aren't we?
We better. I mean,
We better.
these are the teams you got to beat. This is a newly promoted team.
That's the
They're
one.
they're basically in Germany, so you're going into the
Yep.
freezing cold temperatures of the mountains of Italy.
Yep, they're as north as it possibly can get, man. They might as well sign up for the Swiss league or the Austrian league,
For
man.
real, I went there one time and all the signs were in German. I speak to the guy in Italian. He speaks to me in English. I speak to him in English. He speaks to me in German. I was like, you know what? I'm done here. I'm done here. I don't want to be in this place anymore. You guys are Germany. I don't care.
Love it, bro. Love it. Our manager Corini will be speaking at a press conference probably right now or in the next few hours if my times are correct. Access will be allowed by a few channels as well. I'll be pretty interested to hear what he says. I know that he was speaking on the Manchester City channel a few days ago when the team did visit them. And he did say that this team is, this season is like a year zero. We're resetting properly. We know exactly what our goals are for the season. And, after the turbulence that was the managerial merry-go-round at the start of the season, it's good to have someone who at least knows the value and the prestige of the club, and knowing that if there's one way this club can't go at the moment, Mario, it's backwards. And I think that he'll be able to sustain it at least for a season or two, and then we'll see what happens there. What do you think about him so far, man? Because he was very enthusiastic. He said it was a very beautiful experience to come here to Manchester City's ground. It's a very important season for us. We've got our new ownership, our new funding. We know that the future looks very bright, but he also was very quick to reiterate, it's our responsibility now to show that we're serious.
Yeah, I mean, he's played at the highest level. He knows what it means to be a player for Rosanero, and he's gonna try to amp this team up as much as possible, inject whatever he can, all his emotions. He's gonna put his heart and soul into it. So
Yeah,
he loves the club, and to have a manager like that, it's important, but it can only take you so far. Because
yeah,
once after the emotions, after the yeah, it's
exactly.
okay, what's going to happen here? Are we just going to yell at our players and hope they just kind of, like put their head down and run through walls? Like
It doesn't
it,
work like that,
it
man.
doesn't, it doesn't work. And Serie C, maybe it works. Amateur Serie D works, but once you get to these upper levels where you're playing the Genoas, the Cagliaris, Lecce, Ascoli, the
Technically,
teams
you need to be better. You just
you
need to
need
be better technically and physically. You can't just coast on
tactically
vibes and
even.
die.
Tactically even, because that's the most important. You need to know how to break down a team that just puts 10 players on the top of the box, a team that you need to be able to counterattack, a team that they're going to put their head down, run circles, and just chase the ball. You got to be able to manipulate them. You got to take out their best player. You got to take advantage of their worst player. It's a chess match. And if you can,
Yeah.
you can be like Gattuso, where you just all emotions, you just smack players until they play good, sort of thing. Or you can be Mourinho, and you're a
Try and find the balance.
you're
Yeah.
a psychological genius and you're a tactical genius, and this is why your teams win everywhere you go, or they're
Mm,
successful, or you make
yeah.
this name for yourself. So I know he's only been coaching for he's been around, but he's been up and down. He's never really had that team that he loves. So I feel like this is
Yeah.
different for him.
Well, yeah, this is his first love as a manager for sure.
Yeah.
It's the right way to go about things.
Mhm.
You don't want to peak too early, and I think he's at the right place at the right time to do what he needs to do. Just piggybacking off the back that we said before, lots of vibes for these players, man. Especially the ones that maybe don't have or who don't think that they're going to reach a club of this stature at some point. To see some of these players be able to visit Manchester City, you can just tell how happy they were, and hopefully they come back to Palermo with an extra sense of professionalism and an extra sense of motivation. Not just for the club that they're playing for. Like in an ideal world, it'd be great. All these players end up leveling up 3 or 4 levels to your
Mhm.
Iliciches and your Dybalas and your
Yep.
Romaris, and they all play Serie A for Palermo. But we know that's not going to happen. So hopefully some of these players went to Man City going like, if I play well enough for Palermo, I can, if not come to this club, I can put myself in a
Yep.
name with this club that
Mhm.
owns my son/daughter club, and they will do some of the legwork for me to find me another loan. To which, at the
Exactly.
end of the day, it's just a business, man. You're an
Yeah.
employee. You want to climb up the chain of the business or not?
Yeah, like I've seen it firsthand with NYCFC. I used to have season tickets to them. I used to go to all their home games at the very least. And you had players like Angelino, who's now playing in where is he, Salzburg or some shit like that.
Yeah, something like that.
He's playing and he's lighting it up. He's one of the best left backs. He came NYCFC 18 years old on loan. At first I was like, he's got the idea, he's just not there yet. Then after the second season, he just balled out. And then he went to Man City, they loaned him out. Then he started to figure it out, 20, 21, 22 years old. So, if we can get a couple players like that from Man City, it helps out. A lot of these guys
Yeah,
that we have now are on loan, or they were coming from like Atalanta, Empoli,
yeah,
a Juve, or like the youth developments at the very least. So you have these kind of players that they're good enough to be making a difference, and hopefully going to the Man City to see what the actual club is going to be about, the structure, the history, the vision. You're looking at Holland's jersey. Holland's one of the best players in the world right now. You're like, holy shit, maybe I can play with him one day. Even if it's in a friendly, I get to mark him. I get to get his jersey. Well, maybe I'll start texting him at the very least. It's like those little relationships
yeah,
that make a difference, and hopefully a lot of these guys that weren't from the Juves, the Serie A, that they came up with Palermo in the youth system, or they came from the other Serie C teams that now they're just finding themselves, or they're finally just making it at Palermo, making a name for themselves. This is where they want to be, and this is exactly how you get through the system, the ranks, and then you build a name for yourself. So it
yeah.
pure motivation.
Absolutely. Bit of transfer news before we moved into our last section of the pod, which I'm very excited for. This is Claudio Gomez, who is our new midfielder, 22-year-old from France, permanently arriving from Manchester City after being born in the year 2000 and coming up their youth ranks. Definitely a player that fits our profile. We need a little bit more depth in that holding role and in that sort of box-to-box, moving away from the opposition players in order to create more space in midfield. Coach Corini was very, very impressed. It's also worth noting that former Palermo midfielder Enzo Maresca is now is one of the assistants to Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, and he was actually the man that recommended this player go to Palermo. So that's the sort of transfer you want to look at, where the ties are coming together, the emotions are coming together. It can literally only benefit both clubs. And anything, I swear to God, I'm going to say this all season, anything that's good for Manchester City is good for Palermo.
Yep.
If the instructions come from there, if directives come from there, we should abide by these instructions twofold. Follow the model, follow whatever they say. If they've got players in Camp City that aren't getting the minutes and they want to send it, sign them before you even look at their last name. I really do not care. They're the kind of players that we want. On loan from Atalanta is Vidor, a striker that's definitely going to look to, just relieve some of the stress and the expectations off Brunori's shoulders, which I think are very, very important at the moment. We'll see how he goes. Watch this space. I'm not too confident because I'd like to see him do very well, but I've got this thing about players going from first division to second division in their mid-20s. A lot of the time they think that they were past the stage of regressing in their career. Let's see how mentally he holds this up. Watch this space, bro. Going to our last section of today's podcast, we aim to wrap these podcasts up in 20 minutes or so. And the final section of the pod is going to be very enjoyable week in, week out. We're going to take a look at a player or a moment or anything from the past that helps us relive. It's the big man. It's the Don, Luca Toni, not fazed by anything. Someone who knew how to top score again for Serie A, Hellas Verona at the age of 36, 37, whatever it was. More importantly, though, this guy scored 30 goals in 2003, 2004. The biggest reason why Palermo made it back into Serie A for the first time in so long. He then went on to net 20 more the next season after that. Start of a 3-game win streak was in this game here. I remember it very, very well at the Renzo Barra, where we beat Sampdoria by 2-0. It was the start of an amazing season, Mario, that saw Palermo, yes, our Palermo, make the UEFA Cup, bro. Luca Toni up in this.
Yo, they were, just to make note, they were in second place in Serie A for weeks.
16, 17 match days.
It was still crazy. They went straight to the top, and nobody was going to Sicily and taking points. That was the biggest thing. You went to Palermo, you
weren't coming back with 3 punti,
you weren't coming back. The first few years when Palermo went up, it was a fortress. You couldn't win there unless you were Juve fixing matches. So it was insane. You'd go there. They had Brienza was a freaking animal. He was such a good player. But Luca Toni, you give him the ball, he's gonna score. He was 6'4", which at the time was huge. Now the average player is like 6'2", 6'3". So it's
but
not.
But at the time, he was a monster.
He was huge. He was smart. He was quick. He found 2 yards of space. He was gonna get you a goal, left foot, right foot header with his knee, with his balls, with his ass, with his calf. He didn't care. He scored, and he was just so important to that team. That team was together for 3 to 5 years. I don't even remember, but
something that's so important about this guy is we always talk about the 2006 team that won the World Cup, and what was amazing about that is that you literally had a group of players that got together not knowing where they would be the next season. And this is one of the first times in my life I'll big up the Juventini players and the Milan players, because they all came together, said, okay, Andrea Pirlo has 3 missed calls from Real Madrid. Del Piero's got missed calls from Manchester United. Nesta's got missed calls. Inzaghi's got missed calls. They're not answering their calls. They're staying with their club. Something worth noting, Fiorentina finished 4th. Luca Toni went into the World Cup after having his Champions League spot revoked due to Calciopoli. Fiorentina were done. So this guy also went to the World Cup. No idea what club he was going to be in. Scored 50 goals for Palermo over 80 appearances. Moved to Tuscany. Had a great season in Tuscany, came 4th, was looking forward to going to the Champions League, told, oh, by the way, you're not going to the Champions League. By the way, Fiorentina are going to the abyss. By the way, get on a plane and go to Germany. You're playing in the World Cup. He came back with a World Cup winner's medal, bro. Forza Luca Toni.
And he scored goals. He wasn't useless.
Yeah. He wasn't useless. He was later off the mark than we all thought he'd be, but then he went bang, bang against Ukraine, and we're all forgiven, bro.
It's all good. It doesn't matter. No, if you look at that team, that 2006 team, it was all just mishmashed of just players that were just old, good. There wasn't really a young core like they're trying to do now. There was 6 players from Palermo, and this is where the whole DNA, the Palermo DNA started. I was like, okay, first, they don't lose at home, first of all. Second of all, half the like a third of the roster is Palermo players. How many people on a roster? 20, 18 players, 20 players? They have 6.
Yeah.
Tony, Grosso,
Hmm.
Barzali, Zaccardo, Barone. Simone Barone was
Yeah.
the misfit. We were like, how the hell did this guy get onto the field? And then I think there was one more
Are you talking about for Italy?
for the 2006 World Cup. Yeah.
Dude, like even Zaccardo shouldn't have been anywhere near that pitch. But at the end of the day, that own goal against USA sort of slowed his role. He wasn't a
Yeah.
bad defender, and he just remained average after that particular moment.
Yeah, that's when he was like, all right, we can't trust this guy.
Yeah,
But he
exactly.
was solid for Palermo, went to Wolfsburg and then kind of just fizzled out. Um, Barzali was a solid center back. I don't think he started any games from the World Cup, but I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. All right, man. That's going to be it. That's going to be it. That was really good, man. Another 20-minute
Yeah,
power pod for Palermo. I'm really looking forward to the game for tomorrow night. And Mario Gagliano, thank you so much for joining me. We will link up to talk Palermo again sometime in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
sounds good to me. Can't wait. Hopefully,
All
better
right.
results.
That's it, man. Forza Palermo. Ciao.